Hey, what is going on, guys? Thanks for checking out this video of my sports Gematria. Gonna run through some college basketball, give you guys some numbers to play with. We'll just see how it works out. Gonna do Oklahoma and Texas, Kentucky, Alabama, and then we're gonna do Missouri and Auburn. My final picks will always be in writing, underlined and italicized on my Patreon page. So if you want my final picks for these games, you'll have to join my Patreon. But in this video, I should be giving you guys enough information for both sides of the games, for both teams, to where you can decide for yourself on what game you want to go with or what team you want to go with. My picks will be on Patreon. If you want them, go over there. But take this information and do what you will with it. On this side, I have what I call my daily numbers, date numerology. Got the Gregorian, both sides of the Hebrew. This side is what I call game numbers. We got Oklahoma, the away team, their coach. In the middle here is the head-to-head record between the two teams. Texas at the bottom, the home team, and then their coach record. So I have some things marked already here. The first thing I thought would be interesting is if Texas wins against Oklahoma today, they become 12-2 for a season record, like 122. The only connection I found with this is that if Oklahoma loses, their coach becomes 122, picks up his 122nd loss as a coach for Oklahoma. The second thing would be this is the 86th head-to-head match between these two. I didn't mark this, but 86 sums to 54 and 126. Today is January 26th, written 1/26. It's a day with 68 date numerology, and we're going to get into that really quick, as well as 48 date numerology. But 86, Oklahoma with the loss can become 5-4 for a conference record. 86 sums to 54 and 126. So on January 26th, in the 86 head-to-head match, Oklahoma can become 5-4 for a conference record. But today does have 48 and 68 date numerology on the Gregorian. Texas would sit on 48 head-to-head losses against Oklahoma as they get their 38th win head-to-head against Oklahoma. The number 38 sums to 68. 68 date numerology on the Gregorian. But it also sums to 149. And this is Oklahoma's 14th game, 9th conference game. So like kind of like a 149. So I have it dark blue and I have the 38 dark blue. So 38 sums to 68 and 149. Today has 68 date numerology. This is Oklahoma's 14th game, 19th conference, like 149. Now, the flip side to this, I do like Texas. I'm leaning towards Texas. My final pick will be in writing on my Patreon. However, let's look at the flip side to this. What would be the flip side or the alternative, as I say? Well, Texas with the loss, they would get their 137th loss, or excuse me, the coach would get his 137th loss. Today does have 48 date numerology, and the number 48 does sum to 137. On top of that, it is the 26th day of the Gregorian year, and their coach would sit on 101 wins as a coach for Texas. 101 is the 26th prime number. And then, of course, 68 date numerology on the Gregorian. Oklahoma coach can get his 668th win. It does have a 68 in there, 668. Maybe it's a bit of a stretch. I get that, so we'll see what happens. On top of that, Oklahoma can get their 10th win for the season as they become 1-0 against Texas for the season. 1-0, like 10. And then with 68 date numerology on the Gregorian, 68 sums to 52. Texas can become 5-2 for a conference record with a loss. They also can become 6-1. If they sit on the 48, they can become 6-1 because the number 48 sums to 61. So we have some discrepancies here, right? We have the 61 and we have the 137 going both directions. We have the 48 in favor of the Texans, 61 favor in Texans. However, their Texas coach can get that 137. On today does have 14 date numerology. On the Gregorian, 14 does sum to 104. And Oklahoma can become 10 and 4. However, with that being said, if we look at the location, Frank Erwin Center sums to 95, and Oklahoma can just become 9 and 5 in Frank Erwin Center facing Texas. So those are both sides. I gave you both narratives there. I'm leaning more towards Texas, but there is a narrative here for Oklahoma to upset. And I gave you those numbers, 137, 101. So you guys, with your own brain, decide on who you like based off of these numbers, okay? If you want my personal final pick, it will be on Patreon in writing, underlined, and italicized. All right, next matchup we have here is Kentucky versus Alabama. Today has 32 date numerology on the Gregorian. 32 sums to 158. This is Kentucky's 15th game, but it's their 8th conference game, like 158. And with the win, Alabama can get their 32nd head-to-head win against Kentucky. 86 is a number we talked about in this game right here, 86. We know 86 sums to 126. So Alabama can sit on 32 wins, or excuse me, Alabama can get their 32nd win as they sit on 86 head-to-head losses. 86 sums to 126 today with 32 date numerology on the Gregorian. 32 sums to 158. Kentucky's 15th game, 8th conference game. Going along with the 86 and 126, Alabama's coach can get his 126th win. It's his 48th game as a coach for Alabama today with 48 date numerology, January the 26th, 126. Today does have 14 date numerology as well. Alabama would get their 14th win, and they would become 2-0 head-to-head against Kentucky for the season, like 20. 20 sums to 26. Today is the 26th day of the Gregorian New Year. On the flip side, though, the 86, Kentucky, their coach comes in sitting on 86 losses as a coach for Kentucky, and he can sit on that with the win today. That's about as far as I got with it. There isn't a whole lot of numbers for Kentucky. The next thing would be, though, is if Alabama loses, they would sit on 31, and I'll mark this in a light blue. They would sit on 31 head-to-head wins against Kentucky as Kentucky evens the score this season, going 1-1 head-to-head against Alabama with a win. 31 is the 11th prime. So Kentucky basically would sit on 31 head-to-head losses against Alabama as Kentucky becomes 1-1 head-to-head against Alabama for the season. Again, 31 is the 11th prime number. Alabama, they're on a 9-game win streak. They're looking for their 10th win in a row. They can get their 10th win in a row as Kentucky gets their 10th loss for this season. However, on the flip side to this, Kentucky can sit on 9 losses for the season with a win as the number 9 seed Alabama in their 9th conference game in their 9-game win streak. It's there. It's definitely there. And then also Alabama coach would get his 19th loss as a coach for Alabama. 19 sums to 86, a number we've already talked about a couple of times. So I've shown you both sides to this game, both what favors Kentucky and what favors Alabama. If you want my final pick in writing, underlined, and italicized, you have to join my Patreon. Other than that, I've given you enough information for you to decipher on which side you want to pick. So best of luck to you guys. I hope you guys pick the winner. The last game, Missouri versus Auburn. So we have Missouri versus Auburn. This is their 13th head-to-head game between these two teams. This is Missouri's 13th game for this season. The number 13 sums to 45 in 2 of the 4 base ciphers. And with the win, Auburn can become 4-5 for a conference record. Auburn is the slight favorite in this matchup. At the same time, Missouri, their coach, can sit on 169 losses with a win today. Mathematics tells us that 13 times 13 sums to 169. It's the has a square root of 13. 169, 13th square. This is Missouri's 13th game, the 13th head-to-head. So either the coach is going to sit on 169 or Auburn's going to become 4-5. Both of those numbers connect to 13. Now we have another 86 on the board. 3 games in a row where the number 86 pops up. We know 86 sums to 126. Today is January 26th. The 86 pops up in this game right here. The 86 pops up in this game right here and right here. And now we have a potential Auburn within a loss to Missouri, which would be an upset. The coach, Auburn, would get his 86th loss as a coach for Auburn. 86 sums to 126, January 26th. However, we got this 135 here as well. And it's the 13th day of the 5th month on the Hebrew civil, like 135. So it's like, which calendar are you going to go with? It's a tough one. Tough call. On the Gregorian, today does have 48 date numerology. And if Missouri wins, their coach would sit on 48 losses as a coach for Missouri, as he also sits on 169 losses as a coach in general. 48 date numerology on the Gregorian. This is Missouri's 13th game, 13 head-to-head. This is a square root of 13. You know, I want to say that Missouri is going to sit on 10 wins for the season, as Auburn gets their 10th win for the season. Why Auburn becomes 1-0 head-to-head against Missouri, like 10. But it's tough because at the same time, with the 13s, this is Auburn's 17th game of the season. It's their 9th conference game. 179 is the 41st prime number. 41 is the 13th prime number. But I want to show you something. 41 sums to 118, and it also sums to 98. Oh, I thought there was, maybe that was the other game. Yeah, they're the ones that are 118. Never mind. So ignore the 118 part, just the 98 part. But 41 sums to 98, and Auburn with the loss can become 9-8 for a season record. 41, the 13th prime number. This is the 13th head-to-head match. 13th game from Missouri. 41 sums to 98. Auburn can become 9-8. Today does have 68 date numerology on the Gregorian. 68 sums to 52. Missouri would become 5-2 for a conference record. Or date numerology of 14. Missouri can become. Did I say Auburn 5-2? I should have said Missouri. Anyway, but 14 date numerology. They can also become 4-3 with a loss. 43 is the 14th prime number. However, 14 sums to 112 and 41. And Missouri can become 112 or 11-2 for a season record. I do kind of like Missouri in this game for the upset, but I'm still looking this over. So if you want my final pick in writing, underlined, and italicized, you'll have to join my Patreon page. But hopefully I've given you enough information here for you to decide for yourself on, do you want the favorite Auburn or do you want the upset Missouri? Hopefully I gave you enough information here for you to decide on whether you want the favorite Alabama or the upset Kentucky. And hopefully I've given you enough information here for you to decide if you want the favorite Texas or the upset Oklahoma. My final picks will be in writing, underlined, and italicized on my Patreon page. So if you want my final picks in writing, you'll have to join my Patreon. But I should have given you enough information here for all three of these games for you to make your own decision and make your own pick based off of what's here. All right, thanks, guys.